deserve to die like that. He doesn't deserve to die like that. Never.
Shot and killed the night before the start of a new school year.
A 15-year-old boy, the victim of gun violence in Toronto. Good evening. Family and friends have identified the young murder victim as Mario Giddings.
Police say multiple rounds were fired in what investigators say was a targeted attack. CTV's Sean Leithong joins us live from the scene near Black Creek and Trethewey Drives. Sean.
Michelle and Nathan, targeted but also quite brazen. This happening just before 8 o'clock last night. To give you a sense of where some of the shots were fired, if you look over my left shoulder into the Tim Hortons, just to the right of the garbage can, that is one of the bullet holes that's covered up by a sticker. Moving along this way, you can see roughly behind that truck that's pulling by, there's a large red sticker there, more bullet holes there. Then behind me, there's a pizza place, had a bullet hole through the front, and then beyond that, to my right, there was a car parked last night that had a bullet hole inside there. So it's the idea that a daylight shooting, many of these stores open, and those who open fire seem to not care who was here. 15-year-old Mario Giddings was supposed to start grade 11 at Weston Collegiate Institute this morning, but he was shot and killed yesterday in the parking lot of this plaza.
I want justice for him. I want the police, because if there is camera, they have to arrest that person that do that to him, because he didn't deserve to die like that.
Fortunata Giddings was the victim's aunt and guardian. She's been looking after Mario for 5 years as his parents live in St. Lucia. She says they live in the apartment building next door. She saw paramedics giving Mario CPR, but didn't know it was him.
I could not believe that I am there looking at he's dying and I don't know it's him. I do not know. I don't know. He just called me, and then my daughter called me and then saying something happened, Mario, and the girl Mario just gets shot.
It was 7:45 last night when police were called into the plaza at Black Creek Drive and Trethewey Drive for reports of a shooting. Witnesses say there were multiple shots. Today, broken glass remains, a car with a bullet lodged in the door, the glass of a Tim Hortons with bullet holes covered over, and one bullet went through the window of Tudo's Pizza House, through the counter, and shattering the glass of the refrigerator.
Some bang, 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 bang. I think the plywood.
Owner Tom Dew was standing a meter from the fridge where the bullet hit. He says 2 young kids were sitting at a nearby table.
No, I see 3 cars running away. I see bang, bang, and 3 cars running.
Police say a black sedan was seen fleeing. Fortunata Giddings said Mario was afraid to go to school because he'd been in a fight and feared being found.
He afraid to go there because I think they had a fight there with a few of them. And then he telling me, oh, you have to look for another place for me to go to school because those boys will come back to me.
Tanya John says her sons were close friends with Mario, and she says there had been trouble with a group from another neighborhood.
Nowhere wrong is safe right now because the kids that living on Western, the Western Road, the whole of Western Road, are beefing with the kids around here.
John says she went to the CNE yesterday with her kids and thought about taking Mario.
I was driving, I wanted to turn back. I wish I did turn back and wake him up and just tell him, come go with us. Come and go and ride and have some fun. Yesterday it was the worst time of my life. I enjoy myself with my kids, but at the end it was just so sad. It was just so sad.
For much of the day today, people have been coming by and paying their respects to Mario Giddings, some walking away while wiping tears. Obviously, a lot of heartbreak in this area for this young man. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. The deadly shooting was just one incident in what's been a violent long weekend for gun crimes in the GTA. One Toronto police superintendent saying they were shocked by the number of shootings. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live from Toronto Police Headquarters with more on what police are saying. Beth.
Nathan, police are saying they're devoting significant resources to shooting investigations and to prevent gun and gang violence.
Unfortunately, we had a very violent weekend in the city this past weekend.
At their afternoon news conference, Toronto police shared over the long weekend there were 11 shootings in the city, 3 of them fatal.
These shootings took place from one end of the city to the other. And at this time, we do not have information that they are linked in any way.
Friday night in Scarborough, 64-year-old Ioannis Kyriakopoulos was shot outside his home. A husband and father, officers say he was targeted and was known to police. Sunday morning near Eglinton and Oakwood, 37-year-old Tristan McNally of Brampton was shot dead in an alley. The community around the laneway raising concerns about its safety and an after-hours club. Early Monday morning, 3 people were shot, 1 stabbed in Mississauga near Dixie and the 401. Then Monday evening, 15-year-old Mario Giddings was shot and killed in a plaza. His family is devastated. The Premier today calling for judges and justices of the peace to keep more offenders in jail and for the feds to change the criminal code.
You know, you try to do this down in the States, 2 things are going to happen. You're getting caught and you're going to jail for years, or the homeowner is going to shoot you, one of the 2. And I'd rather keep guns out of communities, and I'd rather really support our police that we're putting a lot more money into guns and gangs.
Up here on the screen, you can see the firearms that were seized in one weekend alone in Toronto. And this is not an uncommon thing we see from week to week.
In addition to seizing guns regularly, police say they're working closely with the city and community partners to get to the root causes of the gun violence and have a gang exit strategy for youth who are at risk. Last year, over 700 youth referred.
This really is an all-hands-on approach when it comes to the Toronto Police Service. The unit commanders at the divisions each and every day are looking at the crime that's happening in their divisions, and they're really focusing their resources on those areas.
I want to stress, though, that we need your help to disrupt this violence. If you see something that doesn't seem right, if you know someone that you believe has a firearm, please call the police.
They say they're working hard to solve cases from the weekend, have some leads, and expect to make arrests. On top of 6 firearms that were seized this weekend, police say they also laid charges against 6 people in connection with those seizures. Police say sometimes this work is happening within hours of an incident. Reporting live at Toronto Police Headquarters, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Ontario Provincial Police are sharing highway enforcement data over the Labor Day long weekend. The OPP says 2,034 charges were handed out across the region, with 986 of those being speeding charges. 47 were laid relating to impaired driving. Officers also issued 410 warnings. The OPP's Labor Day weekend traffic initiative ran from August 30th until yesterday.
Some financial relief for drivers. Gas prices are the lowest they've been in months. The average price for a liter of regular was a little under $1.54 in the GTA over the long weekend. That's the lowest it's been since April. Year over year, drivers are saving roughly 20 to 26 cents a liter. More savings are expected, with some experts predicting another 8-cent drop by mid-September as producers switch from summer blend to winter blend gasoline.
Still to come tonight, bye-bye summer. 'Tis the season of books, backpacks, and binders. We check in with students, parents, and teachers on the first day of school.
New school year, yes, but that doesn't mean the summer weather is behind us. We have more lovely days on tap this week, and look at this, bright sunshine. We've been enjoying it all day, and the temperature has been very comfortable. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. What are you seeing, Jess?
Just a whole lot of sunshine. To be honest, it makes my job really easy this week. There's high pressure holding firmly, and it just makes for a beautiful few days ahead. So as we get back into routine, it's a lot of change for a lot of people. We at least don't have to contend with a ton of active weather. We are watching a system right now in the prairies that will eventually impact us. But for now, for the majority of the week, for the school kids, for the adults, for everybody involved, it is going to be quite nice. We're holding on in the low to mid 20s. We are relatively comfortable and close to seasonal. But Northern Ontario, an extremely different story. They're holding on to some pretty intense heat. They're holding on to a little bit of warmth that's impacting the prairies. Through the islands and through Pearson, in that kind of 21-degree range, a hint, just a sprinkle of a humidex, which is kind of nice, a nice light wind. And tonight, very seasonal. Winds become northerly. It's a little cool for sleeping, but most people probably enjoy the bit of a cool down. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including that rain that is on the way. But right now, it's back to Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Jess. New rules to start a whole new school year.
There was an extra layer of excitement and nervous anticipation for parents, educators, and not to mention children right across the province today. CTV's John Musselman has more on the return to the classroom.
The first day of school, a day filled with all kinds of emotions for students, parents, and teachers. We met up with some of them arriving at Treadway Woodsworth Public School in Scarborough.
exciting, but it's also a little scary because before this we were in elementary school and in a different school, and that school is much, much smaller than this one. So
I'm looking forward to meeting new teachers and visiting old teachers and playing with new friends at recess.
I have new friends and excited to meet teachers, new teachers, and joining clubs.
There were some special guests today, including Mayor Olivia Chow, who joined Toronto Police to remind everyone about the importance of traffic safety, especially in school zones.
Everyone needs to be vigilant on our streets and pay attention to the rules of the road so we could all get to school and work and back home safely.
And students are also dealing with new rules about cell phones. Students in kindergarten to grade 6 must keep them on silent and out of sight the entire school day. Students in grade 7 to 12 cannot use cell phones during class time.
I'm actually very good with it. I'm actually good with it, with the no cell phones in the classroom. Plus, she's too small for that right now. High school, they're doing it in moderation based on the teachers and the curriculum.
And it's part of my morning announcements every single morning. Power down, secure. You can only use your device if teachers give you permission for an academic purpose.
Meanwhile, over in Etobicoke, students and staff are beginning the new year in a brand new school. Holy Angels near Islington and the Queensway has been rebuilt. The kids seem pretty impressed.
And when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this looks like high school.
And they will enjoy 9 months of school until summer break begins in June 2025. John Musselman, CTV News.
It's also a new beginning for Ontario's retail landscape. In just a couple of days, convenience stores can start selling alcohol. In moments, we'll outline what to expect and how the province is addressing concerns over the proximity to schools.
The city of Brampton says it's marking a significant milestone in its photo radar program, opening a new automated speed enforcement processing center. Officials made the announcement this morning. The center will process tickets for photo radar cameras. The city says there will also be 110 cameras operational by the end of the month, including in front of schools and parks, and 185 cameras in place by the end of this academic year. The mayor says he wants Brampton to be worst city in Canada to get caught speeding.
I know people who will say, I don't like photo radar, I don't like speeding. Well, don't be an idiot and speed in front of a school where there's children, and you won't get a big fat ticket. But if you're going to be an idiot and speed in front of kids, you are going to get a big fat ticket, and we're going to hit you where it hurts most, and that's your pocketbook.
Patrick Brown says there's already been a 20% reduction in speeding where cameras were installed.
Big changes to alcohol sales in our province are now just days away.
Starting Thursday, you'll be able to buy beer, wine, and ready-to-drink cocktails at thousands of convenience stores. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has more on how retailers and government are getting ready.
So we got some twisted teas here.
The mixed drinks are ready for the floor at Zala's Convenience in downtown Brampton. It's one of more than 4,100 new locations that will start selling booze this week. The idea came from Savani Bellakumar's mom, for whom this place is a passion project.
The last 2 years, we went from nothing to it's so much better now, so she wants to take every opportunity she can to make it even better.
An opportunity to boost the store's earning potential that's not without challenges.
We have a lot of petty theft, and it comes with obviously convenience area, stuff like that. So then we decided we're actually going to move it here behind the counter. So that's going to be even more work.
To extend a counter, build a new display.
All in time for Thursday. So that gives us 2 days, a little sleep, but 2 days.
Starting Thursday, convenience stores with licenses like this one will be allowed to sell alcohol from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
We're really looking forward on Thursday, opening up the 4,000 stores to have convenience for people.
A convenience that cost more than $200 million to break a contract with the beer store more than a year early. And there's a human cost, with doctors warning increased access to alcohol will exacerbate addictions, lead to more crashes and hospital visits. The Premier blows off comparisons to location restrictions placed on supervised drug consumption sites and pot shops.
Last time I checked, the convenience stores don't have needles lying around the front of their stores, and they're well equipped. They've dealt with everything from tobacco to lottery tickets, now beer and wine, and they're going to be very responsible.
Taking on selling booze is a risk for small businesses like this one, around the corner from an LCBO.
You got to be competitive with them being so close. So it might be more of a headache than worth it, but maybe in the long term, I'm gonna have my mom's attitude, it'll work out.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
There's another major transit disruption downtown, this time on the Harborfront streetcar line, where buses are now running. Work has begun upgrading the power system along the 3-kilometer stretch between the Harborfront Tunnel and Strawn Avenue. The modernization work is being done on Queens Quay and Fleet Street over the next 4 months. This is happening over the next 4 months, but Harborfront streetcars will be operational for November's Taylor Swift concerts.
We will restore full streetcar service during the Taylor Swift concerts, when those are on only. We'll also add some service for those shows, just by the way. And then toward the third phase is sort of further west, so from Bathurst Street west. So again, we're going to have bus replacement running. There are about 8 streetcars, so it's not a terribly busy route, but it's an important route. So about 8 streetcars run in normal times. We're going to have about 20 buses running in peak times to help people get around.
The second stage of work begins in early October between Spadina and Bathurst.
We're learning more about efforts to fix the Ontario Science Centre's roof before its dramatic and controversial shutdown in June.
CTV's John Woodward reports city records that show the building permit application was found deficient several times.
On a back-to-school day, there are no kids at the Ontario Science Centre and haven't been since June 21st, when fences went up, the Science Centre's board voting to close the building with only hours' notice on a recommendation from the provincial government.
Nobody was anticipating closure to come this suddenly, and it really came out of the blue.
Even as the minister highlighted problems with certain roof panels, it turns out the Science Centre had already been working for months on a plan to fix a part of the roof of Building C. Its building permit application was running into some headaches. On June 3rd, a city examiner wrote to Infrastructure Ontario and a roofing contractor saying, "Examination of your building permit application has revealed that certain requirements of the Ontario Building Code and/or other applicable bylaws have not been satisfied," pointing to sections of the Conservation Authorities Act, the Ontario Heritage Act, and the Building Transit Faster Act. On June 7th, the building engineer wrote to the same group, asking to please provide drawing set with architectural or engineer stamps for all drawings. It's not clear whether the agencies responded, and on the day the Science Centre was shut down, city officials said there was no permit granted. On that day, building inspectors wrote that they learned about the sudden closure from a CP24 news alert, and then scrambled to check in on the safety of the building. One inspector rushed to the site at 6 p.m. to see work already finished on the most critical roof panels. He wrote critical areas shored as per engineers' report, and no immediate concerns observed based on random sample areas looked at.
Everybody agrees that all the urgent things were done.
Canadian Architecture Magazine's Elsa Lam believes the safety concerns were overblown, perhaps a pretext to shut the building down in favor of a pet project of a new waterfront science centre that won't be built for years.
There was no imminent threat of the roof collapse.
Minister Kinga Surma said Tuesday the government was trying to protect people.
And we had to make sure that we prioritize the health and safety of the workers and the children and families that would be coming in and out of the building.
Around 50 staff remain working in parts of the building, packing up exhibits for storage. The expected evacuation date, the end of October. John Woodward, CTV News.
A devastating day for Ukrainians. A military facility and a hospital were hit in a Russian attack that claimed more than 50 lives. CTV's Mike LeCouture has the details.
Ukrainian officials say dozens are dead and hundreds injured, and they're describing the latest strikes as one of the deadliest days since Moscow's full-scale invasion 30 months ago. Ukraine's Military Institute of Communications has been all but blown away, the result of 2 Russian ballistic missiles striking the area. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a nearby hospital was also hit. Zelensky describes how many people found themselves under rubble, and while many were saved, the death toll has topped 50. Ukraine's Interior Ministry also says a Russian strike on a hotel in southeastern Zaporizhia killed a 38-year-old woman and her 8-year-old son. The attack comes as Ukraine continues to push for permission to use Western-supplied weapons deep inside Russian territory.
It would give them the chance to seize more of the initiative, and then maybe rather than trying to knock down a ballistic missile here and there, you could actually shoot at the warehouse by which the missiles are stored.
But an even more pressing need are air defense systems promised by countries like Canada.
So I don't know how many more tragedies like this have to occur for all promises to be fulfilled and for all new commitments to be made.
19 months ago, Canada pledged to send Ukraine a surface-to-air missile defense system. Canada doesn't own or make that defense system, so we're relying on the Americans to essentially order it for us. A spokesperson for Defense Minister Bill Blair told CTV News in a statement, "We have been assured by the Americans that it will be delivered in early 2025. Now, the need for air defense systems was discussed in a call today between President Zelensky and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It will likely also be a central topic when allies meet later this week in Germany at the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
In the Middle East, Palestinian officials say Israeli forces killed at least 35 people across the Gaza Strip today. The fighting between Israel and Hamas continues, but brief pauses allowed medics to conduct a third day of polio vaccinations for children.
We think that we will need another day tomorrow to actually wrap up the central zone completely, and then we will shift to the south, the southern zone on Thursday, and a similar approach. 3 intense days, and most likely the southern zone is a bigger area, most likely with another day. After that, we shift to the northern zones. 4 weeks later, we repeat this process.
The World Health Organization says it is ahead of its targets for vaccinations. More than 161,000 children under the age of 10 in central Gaza were inoculated in the first 2 days of the campaign. That's compared with a projection of around 150,000. The goal is to vaccinate around 640,000 children. The vaccination campaign relies on daily 8-hour pauses in fighting in specific areas of the territory. About a quarter of children under 10 have now been vaccinated.
Beijing is retaliating after Canada announced tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles. It will conduct an anti-dumping investigation on canola exports from this country, and the sector says the impact could be significant. CTV's Rachel Aiello has the details.
Responding to Canada's electric vehicle tariff package, China is initiating anti-dumping investigations into Canadian canola imports, as well as some chemical products.
I think it's fair to say that we're disappointed with the action.
Canadian farmers exported $5 billion worth of canola to China last year. They're now refuting Beijing's accusation of price discrimination.
We're very confident that through our participation in an appropriate way, we will be able to demonstrate the fair access and competitiveness of Canadian canola.
This comes after the Canadian government imposed a 100% tariff on Chinese-made EVs and a 25% tariff on imports of Chinese steel and aluminum.
Actors like China have chosen to give themselves an unfair advantage.
The federal government acted in alignment with its allies, including the United States. But China characterized the tariffs as unilateral and discriminatory, escalating trade tensions.
I think that the reaction of China is a bit disproportionate when you look at the economic impact of the tariffs.
Today, Canada's Agriculture Minister called the move by China deeply concerning and said the government will defend the sector every step of the way. Canada and China maintain a $100 billion trade relationship, and experts say next steps will have to be carefully considered.
I think we have to try to walk a fine line. And one of the added difficulties this time is that some of China has other places it can go for a lot of the products that we sell them.
The canola industry says until the investigation gets underway, it's too early to understand the full impact of China's trade action, though it could be significant. The last time Canadian canola was hit by Chinese trade action in 2019, it's estimated to have cost $2 billion. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
A federal New Democrat says it's time to revisit the confidence and supply agreement with the minority Liberals. Matthew Green insists his party will be having tough conversations about the future of the deal at next week's caucus retreat in Montreal. The NDP Labour critic says his concerns follow the government's decision to direct the Labour Board to impose binding arbitration when Canada's 2 main rail companies locked out their workers. Green says there should be additional steps from the Liberals to make their agreement with the Liberals worthwhile to Canadians, and insists leaving the deal is an option. 2 years ago, the NDP agreed to keep the government in power until June 2025 in exchange for movement on key priorities.
Pope Francis has arrived in Indonesia to begin the longest trip of his tenure. The Pope met with orphans, refugees, and unhoused members of the community in Jakarta today. Tomorrow, he will sit down with Indonesia's political leaders and clergy. The pontiff is looking to encourage the Catholic community there and celebrate interfaith harmony in a country with the world's largest Muslim population. Over the next 11 days, he will also travel to New Guinea, East Timor, and Singapore. Coming up, transforming King Street, a downtown stretch, is about to become a hot spot for film fans, gearing up for Festival Street as TIFF gets underway in less than 2 days.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, would you buy a used electric car? A CTV viewer was shocked to be told he needed a new battery at a cost of more than $30,000, but the actual fix was a lot less than that. I'll explain. That story is just ahead.
We've had a pretty seasonal start to the month of September, but Northern Ontario remains the hotspot. Muskrat Dam right on the border with Manitoba, sitting at a daytime high right around 27.1. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including a bit of active weather on the way. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
As the automotive industry moves towards electric vehicles, there's also a great need to have knowledgeable mechanics to work on them.
Automotive colleges are training students on electric cars, but there is a concern some shops might not be ready for some EV repairs. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle. And Nathan, a CTV viewer, contacted us after he was told his 6-year-old electric car needed a new battery, which was going to cost more than $30,000. But after we got involved, it turned out the problem was a much easier fix.
They call me and say it needs a battery.
Charles Jackal of Orangeville bought a used 2018 Chevy Volt hybrid 3 years ago. At 161,000 kilometers, it was just outside of warranty when it quit working.
The car right now is a paperweight. It's been sitting at that dealership since December.
Jackal paid $20,000 for the car and was shocked to be told replacing the battery will cost him over $33,000.
I actually felt sick because at that point in time, I was bewildered, dumbfounded, I guess, perplexed really at that actually that battery could cost that much.
The battery's heavier, but you don't have an engine up front.
True.
Chris Muir is an automotive professor at Centennial College. Here he's giving a refresher course to faculty about some of the safety requirements needed when working on electric cars. The college is updating its curriculum to teach mechanics about EV repairs.
There's probably been a bit of a drought of training for electric vehicles, particularly in the aftermarket.
Muir says EVs require a new set of skills for mechanics, and those used to working on combustion engines without proper training could misdiagnose repairs, especially in case of software updates.
If you miss that bulletin for the vehicle software update, you have a chance to spend the customer's money unwisely on something that didn't need to be replaced.
When Jackal contacted us, we reached out to General Motors on his behalf, and a spokesperson said the team is working with the customer to resolve this issue. In the end, Jackal's car did not need a new $33,000 battery. It just required a software update, which GM looked after, and now Jackal's Chevy Volt is back on the road.
I am so glad I contacted you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much, Pat and your whole team, CTV. Thank you.
And larger dealerships are more likely to have EV specialists on staff. There are also ongoing training courses offered by colleges and manufacturers to help train mechanics to work on EVs. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, talking about that forecast, first day of school in the books, and the weather was pretty good.
The weather was phenomenal. A blue sky makes all the pictures just sing of your kids, and hopefully everybody had a great day. Those who had to go back to school, it's an exciting time, and I think what's great is that we're going to have more sunny skies for a few more days this week, which is nice.
It impacts my mood significantly when it's a sunnier day. I'm like a flower. I need like photosynthesis. Like I just need the sunshine to feel like I'm growing. It is going to be a beautiful couple of days. So if you like the sunshine and you like that little bit of heat, but not too much. The next few days are for you. But we are watching a cold front that's going to make its way in from northern Ontario, slowly making its way across, set to bring a little rain to round out the week. But the majority of it looking pretty nice. And we're seeing tons of sunshine out there. We still have a really high UV index. And although we are tiptoeing towards fall, you still have to think in terms of sun protection, hydration, if you're going to spend really any significant time outdoors. As we head into the next few days, a more southerly flow to the wind will help us stay nice and moderate. We stay fairly seasonal. Northern Ontario is still experiencing a decent amount of heat. So we have a big ridge in the jet streams where you see all those oranges, those really kind of deep colors. That's where we have a ton of heat. So Peawanuck, areas towards Red Lake, Thunder Bay, they are significantly warmer than really they should be for this time of year. We're fairly seasonal here in central and southern Ontario. And tonight, almost right on par for seasonal. Still a little cool-ish towards Peterborough and Bancroft, but overall a comfortable night for sleeping if you like it a little cooler. Heading into the day tomorrow, we're sitting around that seasonal mark, just a little bit of a humidex. So again, a really beautiful day, nothing to complain about. We're looking at this kind of holding on for the majority of the week. That's thanks to high pressure, a much more stable air mass. As we head in towards the end of the week, that's when these two lows, along with the cold front, come through and kind of slice through any of that heat that we had built up. And when that interaction happens, that's when you see the potential for active weather. So as we head through the rest of the night, there's not a lot in the way of clouds. If you play any outdoor sports in the evenings, really beautiful because it's still nice, but it's not cold just yet. As we head through the day Wednesday, again, there's really nothing going on until we get in towards kind of the end of the day Thursday into Friday. That's when we see the system start to make its way in. It starts right up towards Sault Ste. Marie and then eventually pushes its way across. Now, there are multiple weather models that exist, and they aren't all saying the same thing as far as when the rain comes, but they do all agree that we're looking at that active weather rolling in at some point Friday. So likely to see the chance of it roll in early in the morning, just in time for that commute. So give yourself a little extra time. By no means is it a wash of a day, but it will kind of trickle in pretty slowly and then carry us through the beginning of the weekend. Temperature-wise, before all that takes place, a southerly flow to the wind will help it stay nice and warm, so we have lots of sunshine, a high UV index, and a bit of a humidex value through our Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The chance of showers kind of comes off and on as we head throughout the day Friday, and as it makes its way in with that cold front, again, that intersection of the warmer air at the surface, the cooler air aloft, we're looking at active weather. And after that cold front comes through is when temperatures cool down. Is cold? No, but it is going to be significantly cooler than we have been as of late. So we dip into the upper teens through your Saturday and Sunday, and then it's a slow but steady climb. I think I can, back to seasonal as we head in towards next week. Michelle, send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jess. Also tonight, curbing cell phone use outside the classroom. Experts call for measures beyond the ban to address device addiction, the troubling impact on young minds. Students were back in class today dealing with the new rules regarding cell phone usage.
The province has banned cell phones for the most part, but experts say the move will not have an impact on preventing phone addiction. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan explains.
Being on social media takes away from my sleep because sometimes I'll just be scrolling for hours.
This video shows kids who have taken a free program called Brainables. The pilot program was offered to grades 5 to 8 in Ontario last year, teaching students about brain health.
And what these kids are saying is that they are addicted to their cell phones, but the problem is coming more so at night.
That's why Leah Poslin says the school cell phone ban isn't enough.
These kids have their devices in their rooms. They're not being monitored at night. And they're on their social media. They're chatting with their friends via text.
And she says it takes a toll on their physical and mental health.
Kids at that age need 9 to 11 hours of sleep at night in order to be able to process their emotions properly, be focused at school.
Psychologist Todd Cunningham says it's contributing to academic difficulties.
So individuals who have attention-related difficulties, they actually gravitate to entertainment devices and social media devices because they're getting more of what their brains are actually missing. And so that draws them in more, which makes it actually more addictive.
Studies on cell phone bans at schools have produced mixed results.
What is missing is the education. We have to inform these kids about the harm that excess social media and device addiction has.
And Poslin's hopes programs like Brainables will get funding to provide that training to students and parents. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
And as school starts, another edition of the CNE is in the books. And in a year of celebrating food at the Axe, organizers have found an appropriate way to make an impact on the community. Food vendors will be donating surplus food supplies to Second Harvest. Vendors will be packaging produce and non-perishable items with the goal of gathering more than 25,000 pounds of food. The CNE is mobilizing this collective effort on a larger scale to reduce food waste and feed our community at large. Officials estimate more than 1.4 million people visited the Axe during its 18-day run.
The Toronto International Film Festival gets underway this week, and a downtown street will once again be transforming for the occasion. King Street between Peter and University will become TIFF's Festival Street when the event kicks off Thursday. Organizers say there will be an art market, food, drinks, free entertainment, and activations for film fans to enjoy. This will be the 9th year TIFF has put on the Festival Street. It'll be open through Sunday.
Meanwhile, Brad Pitt and his girlfriend are officially official. The couple made their red carpet debut at the Venice Film Festival on Sunday. People magazine says the 60-year-old actor has been dating jewelry designer Inesta Ramon for 2 years. They have attended some big events together in the past, but had not posed for photos or walked the red carpet together until now. They were joined by actor George Clooney and his wife Amal.
A date's been set for what's being billed as the last comedy special of Ellen DeGeneres' career. Variety says Ellen DeGeneres, for your approval, will be broadcast September 24th on Netflix. It will be the first time in 6 years the former talk show host has taken the stage for a special. DeGeneres says it will include an update on what she's been doing since being, quote, kicked out of show business. Her talk show ended in 2022 and followed allegations of a toxic workplace. 3 producers were dismissed.
You could say a farm in Ohio is paying tribute to Taylor Swift in an amazing way. Yes, that is a massive corn maze celebrating the pop superstar. It's 16 acres in total, with the path showing the singer herself, along with her signature, hands making a heart, along with her birth year and the name of her album title, 1989. This elaborate maze runs from the end of September through to the end of October. And by the way, I'm sure you know already, Swift has 6 sold-out shows in Toronto in November.
After the break, shifting to a bigger arena, PWHL Toronto announces it will play all of its home games at Coca-Cola Coliseum this season as fan support shows no signs of cooling down.
Striking the right chord.
The pride of Hamilton, Zachary Knowles, will be here to tell us about life as the 2024 air guitar world champion.
And that's on the next CP24 Breakfast, where Toronto gets its everything every morning.
I want justice for him. I want the police, because if there is camera, they have to arrest that person that did that to him, because he didn't deserve to die like that.
Updating our top stories, Mario Giddings was fatally shot at a plaza at Black Creek in Trethewey last night. The 15-year-old's aunt and guardian says he was afraid to go to school because he'd been in a fight and feared being found.
These shootings took place from one end of the city to the other, and at this time we do not have information that they are linked in any way.
Meanwhile, Toronto police say there were 11 shootings over this past long weekend, 3 of them fatal. Police are urging the public to help disrupt the violence in the city. The premier wants more offenders kept in jail and changes to the criminal code.
And as part of my morning announcements every single morning, power down secure. You can only use your device if teachers give you permission for an academic purpose.
New cell phone rules were in effect on the first day of school. There are some exceptions, but generally those in kindergarten to grade 6 must keep their phones on silent and out of sight for the entire day. Students in grades 7 to 12 cannot use cell phones during class time.
Remember to keep up to date day or night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and you can download the CTV News app.
For investors, September got off to a slow start. Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the details in business.
Hello there. As kids go back to school and summer fades into the rearview mirror, stock markets began September with a slide. Canadian shares were down more than 1% today, and the U.S. S&P 500 index dropped more than 2%, posting its worst slump since the August 5th market sell-off. And tech shares were especially hard hit, with chipmaker Nvidia down almost 10%. Investors are fretting about a possible U.S. recession, even if the Federal Reserve cuts rates in a rush to prevent a bigger slowdown. Mining stocks dragged Toronto down. Goldman Sachs cut its target price for copper next year, dropping a long-term bullish stance on the metal. Canadian canola futures fell 4% after China said it will start an anti-dumping probe into imports from Canada. Trade tensions are escalating after the federal government imposed tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles, steel and aluminum. Canola and oilseed prices in general have been under pressure after world supplies grew faster than demand. More than 90% of China's total canola imports last year were from Canada, totaling about 5 million tons. And finally, Germany's Volkswagen is considering factory shutdowns in its home country for the first time in its 87-year history. Bloomberg says the carmaker's troubles reflect deep woes roiling Europe's auto industry, which has ignored overcapacity and slumping competitiveness. Meanwhile, Europe's efforts to compete with Chinese rivals and Tesla in electric cars are faltering. On the markets, the Canadian dollar was at 73.79 US cents, down almost half of a cent. West Texas Intermediate oil changed hands at $70.34, down $3.21. Our latest fix on Western Canadian Select, $59.02, down $2.16. And the TSX Composite ended the session at 23,042.45, down just under 304 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Unifor has applied to the Ontario Labour Relations Board in an effort to represent workers at Walmart's Mississauga warehouse. The union's attempt to organize workers at the facility began in December of 2023. It says workers at Walmart deserve greater job security, health and safety protections, and fair wages. Unifor represents 315,000 workers across the country. In sports, the Toronto Blue Jays begin a two-game series against the Phillies at Rogers Centre tonight.
And again, the 2-2, and it's hit in the air to left field. It's deep, and it is gone.
Toronto is coming off a 4-3 loss in Minnesota Sunday. This evening, right-hander Chris Bassett will start for the Jays, who are 8 games back of the final wild card spot. Philadelphia is sitting atop the National League East. After this series, Toronto goes to Atlanta for 3 games.
Canada won gold at the Paralympic Games for a second straight day. Wheelchair racer Cody Forney won the men's T51-meter sprint in 37.64 seconds today. The 35-year-old from Victoria posted the fastest 200 of his career. Yesterday, Nicholas Bennett of Parksville, BC, won our first gold medal, finishing first in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. Canada has a total of 12 medals so far, including 2 gold.
Toronto's Professional Women's Hockey League team will have a new home this season. The club says Coca-Cola Coliseum will serve as its primary venue for regular season games in the 2024-25 campaign. PWHL Toronto hosted 3 playoff games in the arena at Exhibition Place after spending its inaugural season at the Mattamy Athletic Centre. Coca-Cola Coliseum is also home to the AHL's Toronto Marlies. The PWHL has yet to announce the schedule for the upcoming season, but says it will consist of 30 regular season contests per team.
Just ahead, 83 hot dogs devoured in just 10 minutes. Joey Chestnut chows down his own world record and settles a long-standing beef with an old rival.
Tonight, the rediscovery of a bronze statue feared to be lost forever.
It's very sad to see it, and you know that the Titanic is sick and in poor shape.
Striking images reveal the depths of the ship's slow decay. Later on CTV National News.
Finally tonight, Joey Chestnut was banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest this year because of a sponsorship deal with a rival food company.
But it is clear the legendary competitive eater still has an appetite for winning.
Chestnut and Kobayashi renew a rivalry.
Chestnut ate 83 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, demolishing his own world record during a showdown with a longtime nemesis. Billed as, quote, unfinished beef, Chestnut squared off against fellow star Takeru Kobayashi in a Netflix Labor Day event in Las Vegas. Kobayashi managed to down 67 measly hot dogs and buns in what was the first time the two had faced each other in 15 years. And by winning, Chestnut earns $100,000 and a glorious hot dog-shaped trophy.
But is it worth it? I guess
no.
So.
That's so, it's just.
How does he do it?
I just enjoy I could do that with barbecue jerk chicken, though. I feel like I get it almost like 3 times a week.
But not that much.
But not that much. Let's just enjoy their food. Chew and swallow. It is going to be a really beautiful day. So if you want, I don't want to say eat that many hot dogs. If you want to eat food at a regular pace and a regular amount or a safe and healthy amount, anyways, it's going to be fantastic. As we head through the next couple of days, there's no hot dog segue that really works into the weather, but it is going to be beautiful as we head in towards the rest of the week. We're still sitting in the low to mid 20s, and as we head in towards the end of the week, it stays nice until Saturday.
Wonderful. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here, thanks for watching and have a great night.